Welcome to another COE video learning series. I'm Sheila Luke, Vice President of the Compliance Division, and today I'm going to be talking to you about FTE. Now, as you all know, the annual report is a very important document that you must submit each year, and continued accreditation is determined on an annual basis. Now, if you're a candidate institution, continuation of your candidate status is dependent upon demonstrating that you're making progress toward the standards and criteria with the submission of your annual report. If you are a member institution, you must document ongoing compliance with the standards, criteria, and conditions in the annual report. So as you can see, the annual report is a huge deal, and we want to make sure that we provide you with helpful guidance and tips through this series of learning videos. We have decided to break down the annual report series into smaller topics. So this topic today is going to focus on FTE. So what is FTE? What does it stand for? I know sometimes the world of post-secondary education may seem like a bowl of alphabet soup, right? With all of the different acronyms. But this one's pretty easy to remember. FTE stands for full-time equivalent. So essentially, FTE is a way for institutions to standardize the amount of instruction that would equal to one full-time student enrolled during the academic year. So you may be wondering, well, why do we need a standard? Well, COE recognizes that numerous methods may be used to calculate FTE, and this could vary from one school to another. So we have some schools that operate 12 months out of the year, while others may only operate for 10 months. Then you may have some students who are considered full-time students, and others may attend part-time, some may attend evenings, and others may even attend at night. Then there may be differences in how programs are measured from school to school or program to program. Some of them may be measured in student contact hours or clock hours, some in semester hours, or some even in quarter hours. So with all these differences, the Commission felt it necessary to come up with a definition for FTE. So the Commission's definition of FTE is a unit of measure used by the Commission to define the amount of scheduled instruction that equates to one full-time student during one academic year. The Commission defines FTE as 900 contact or clock hours, 45 quarter hours, or 30 semester credit hours of scheduled instruction. The clock or credit hours used to calculate an FTE, an institution's FTE, must reflect coursework which a student has enrolled and matriculated. The FTE does not include hours or credits transferred from other institutions or awarded as CLEP courses. So in order to determine the total FTE of your institution, you must combine all program measurements, whether they be in clock hours, semester hours, credit hours, or some combination of those offered at each campus to get the total FTE for your school. So now you may be thinking, okay, so I know what FTE is, so what's the big deal about it? Well, it turns out that there are quite a few reasons why FTE should be important to you. Probably the most significant reason why FTE should be important to you is because your annual membership dues are based on your full-time equivalent or your FTE. So generally, as a rule of thumb, a larger FTE means that you will pay more in the way of membership dues, which is pretty logical, right? Another reason that FTE is important is because often it's a factor that's used to determine the size of the team that will visit your school. A larger FTE typically indicates more students, which could mean more programs, additional sites, in essence, a larger institution. So FTE is considered when determining how many people are needed to be assigned to go visit your school. The next one is very important. Did you know that to become a candidate for accreditation and to maintain accreditation as a member institution, you must have an FTE of at least 10? This certainly is a reason for you to make sure that you accurately calculate and monitor your FTE. You also must make sure that you maintain at least 50% of your FTE enrollment at each campus in non-VESL or non-vocational English as a second language programs. It is also important to note that when you consider offering distance education programs at your school, you need to make sure that at least 25% of your total FTE is being taught in a traditional format. So bottom line is that FTE is a significant factor for planning, budgeting, resource allocation, and compliance at your school. Now, before we get into the specifics of FTE calculations, let's look at some important points to consider that may impact your calculations. FTE calculations are completed as part of the institutional annual report, and the FTE figure from the most recent annual report serves as the baseline for each 12-month period. Now, in general, most institutions, publics and non-publics, will follow the same process for calculating FTE. We do, however, recognize that some of our institutions may employ alternative methods for calculating their FTE. For example, registered apprenticeships and job corps may take into account on-the-job training hours that factor into your FTE calculation. Our federal institutions sometimes use average on board or AOB measure in place of a traditional FTE calculation. Another important factor is to consider in FTE calculations is the reporting period. In general, if you're a public or non-public institution, a registered apprenticeship, or a job corps center, then usually you have a July 1st through June 30th reporting period. Federal institutions may typically use an October 1st through September 30th reporting period. So whatever the reporting period may be, it is most important to remain consistent in that reporting for benchmarking and for comparative purposes. And then finally, if you include secondary programs on your approved program list, then you must include these students and programs in your FTE calculations. Okay, now let's talk about the actual calculation of your FTE. Now, you should be aware all annual reports are to be completed and submitted using the Advera software platform. Now, within the annual report, the FTE section is located under tab 4 or section 4. So the first thing you'll notice here is that you enter your final FTE figure for the previous year. So again, this number is going to be used as a baseline for reporting. Next, you should consider the total number of scheduled hours for all students in all programs at all of your campuses during the reporting period. If you need help coming up with the totals, there are worksheets that you may use to help you as a guide. These are located on the COE website under the Resources tab in the Application and Forms section, and they are also referenced in the Annual Report Help Manual, which is also in that same section. Now, these forms will help you calculate the total hours based on student type, okay, whether they be full-time or part-time, and also by method of delivery, okay, be it traditional, hybrid, or distance education. You're going to use these worksheets to help you calculate the total number of contact hours, semester hours, or quarter hours across all programs and all campuses, and then you enter the totals into the respective line item in the report. Now, it's very important. You don't need to do any more math here. And by that, I mean you don't need to divide the totals by any of the equivalencies, such as 900 contact hours, 45 quarter hours, or 30 semester hours. The system does all the work for you. So it's just as easy as that. Now, as previously discussed, the FTE in your previous reporting year is compared to your current year to see if there are any significant changes or shifts that have occurred in the school's enrollment. Now, COE monitors changes in FTE that amount to an overall increase or decrease of 25% or more. Now, you may wonder, why do we do this? Well, a significant change in enrollment can have a major impact on the operations and financial health of an institution. For example, if your school experiences a rapid growth or increase in enrollment, it is important to ensure that the school has such things as adequate space, facilities, personnel, services, all these things available to support and sustain operational efficiency of the school throughout this growth. On the contrary, if your school experiences a rapid decrease in FTE, well, this obviously can have a considerable financial impact on the school. As we know, schools rely on enrollment as a major contributor to the financial stability of the school. So these are just a few examples of how significant shifts in your enrollment may impact your school. Now, if you find yourself in a situation where your FTE is triggered by an increase or decrease of 25% or more, then you're obligated to submit a formal notice of FTE increase or decrease form to the commission within 30 days of when the increase or decrease is achieved. And so, like many of our forms, this form may be found on the COE website under the Resources tab in the Applications and Forms section. Now, when filling out the form, you should include a rationale for the increase or decrease, as well as include specific data and documentation about the enrollment in all programs at all of your campuses that experienced a significant shift in FTE. You then will be required to report on enrollment data by program until the next submission of your annual report. Okay, so to sum up what we've covered in this training video today, we've defined FTE. Now remember, that stands for full-time equivalent, and we have discussed why the council uses this metric to gauge the size of the institution in terms of student load. We talked about why FTE is important, as it is a determining factor in how much you will pay in annual dues to COE, and it's used to determine the size of the team that may come to your school for a visit. We addressed important factors that should be considered when calculating your total FTE, and noted that FTE is calculated when you submit your annual report in Advera. And then finally, we stressed the importance of doing FTE calculations carefully. And remember, if your school experiences a significant shift in FTE, you must report it to COE. Thank you for tuning in with us today. We hope that you're finding these training videos to be very helpful. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to reach out to us here at COE. Have a fantastic day.